Hey guys, welcome back to Hands On Channel. I hope you had a great holiday and got some time off from work and stuff like that, and got to kind of recharge your batteries, because that's what I've been up to basically since Christmas time. Just kind of been taking care of projects around here, around the house. I haven't really made very many videos or anything. Partly because, I'm limited on what I can actually put up here on YouTube, and I have been considering more and more going over to Rumble and starting at very least a B channel where I can go over there and speak more freely than I can here. And we'll talk about that more in the future. And I've also had some great suggestions here lately. Several people have told me I should go do a live stream on YouTube. I don't know if I'm as good on live stream or not. I've never tried to do it. I'll just have to get my office and stuff set up so that I can give that an experiment. If that's something you'd be interested in seeing, and maybe where we can have a little bit more banter back and forth and stuff like that, let me know down in the comments, and we'll discuss that more in the future. But with all that being said, it's now time for us all to get back to work, fighting against the New World Order, the globalist takeover of our country, which we've all been seeing and stuff. And I wanted to go over 3 news stories here that I think you guys should go read yourself. Part of this is to basically show you a great example of how the media, by not reporting things, is actually censoring. They're not saying the things that need to be said. And even when they do report on these things, they're not getting to the gist of the matter. They're only barely, they're trying to skate around it and make everything seem better than it really is. So the first story here is from New York CNN Business. A record 4.5 million Americans voluntarily left their jobs in November, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The big question for 2022 is whether this dynamic will persist. And they're saying, here's one of the excuses they give. They say the higher quit rates is a symptom of the tight labor market, where workers can quickly find a new and potentially better job. And I'll agree, probably some of it is attributed to that factor that, there's a lot of people know everywhere you go, at least around my town and everyone else I talk to, there's help wanted signs everywhere, because people can't get, employees to come in there and work. So, especially in the retail and restaurants and stuff like that, and especially your lower entry level jobs. Almost every one of those places in my area has help wanted signs up all over the place, trying to get people to come in there and help them. And of course, those aren't very high paying jobs. So I'm sure a lot of those people are quitting and going on to bigger and better things. But what this article fails to even recognize, or it doesn't even mention it in the article, is the fact that although the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, I believe it's called, overturned the Biden mandate, the V mandate, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals said it was okay and it was good to go and they could do it. So the employers, my point is that the courts are all over the place about whether this mandate is actually constitutional or lawful or anything like that, or that OSHA could even do this and even has this in their jurisdiction, if this even falls into OSHA's jurisdiction at all. So there's a lot of questions about this. Meanwhile, the employers out there, especially the bigger ones with lawyers and such, have been told, if you don't get these people to take the experimental jab, then guess what? The government's going to come and fine your ass off. They're going to come and fine you, and it's big time fines. This stuff will put you out of business. So the employers don't really know what to do, except for they know what could be coming. So they want to stay in business. So to stay in business, they're like, okay, here, you have to get this experimental thing, and you have a certain deadline, right? If you don't get the jab, then you can't keep working here. And even though it's up in the air right now and no one's really certain whether this is even constitutional or legal or anything, it doesn't matter. These employees the employers have been scared enough that they're going to go ahead and force these mandates on through at your local job level. And I've known and talked to several people that have either had to already cave and do it just so they can keep their job and keep their employer happy, or they're being actively threatened to lose their job. And even in many cases, the religious and medical exemptions aren't enough for you to keep your job. So we've discussed a lot of this stuff in the past. The point is that this CNN article never mentions the fact that a lot of these people might be quitting because they don't want to be forced to get the experimental thing, right? I got to be careful what I say here. That's why I have to talk like this, and I can't just be open. And that's another reason why I may go ahead and start a Rumble account, is just so I don't have to censor myself, because it's a lot easier to just free flow than it is to sit here and go, oh, can I say that? Is YouTube going to ban my channel for this? So anyways, that's been really annoying here lately and made it a lot more difficult for people like me to produce content at all, because will it make it past the censors? That's the big question. So anyhow, this article, in typical CNN fashion, they dance around everything except the most obvious thing that points a finger back at the idiot-in-chief, Biden, right? They want to make him look good. So at the end of the article, one of the guys, they're experts, they asked a question to, he says, oh yeah, this is just basically people just going out and getting a better job. They're not leaving the workforce. And that may actually be true. I don't know. But the point is they didn't mention the other huge, 800-pound gorilla in the room of many people's jobs. They're being put up against the wall. They're saying, hey, if you want to keep working here, you got to take this V. If you don't take the V, you're going to get fired. So instead of getting fired, they're going out actively and quitting that job and going and getting something better, or working in some place where they're not going to be in contact with the public, so they don't have to get a mandated V. So the next story here is from the Gateway Pundit. And this is a whopper of a story. So you need to go read this yourself, because I'm only going to touch on some of the main bullet points of this article, but I'm not seeing it on any mainstream media outlets anywhere. And this is probably the biggest story that I've heard so far in 2022, and it's being grossly underreported. So let's get on with this. The highest death rates in history. Indiana Life Insurance CEO says death rates are up by a whopping 40% among people aged 18 to 64. Only a fraction of those deaths are from the Rona. So, automatically you might think, well, yeah, deaths are up because, we've had this whole Wu flu, China virus, whatever we're allowed to call it. It's been sweeping through the country. We've had this pandemic. So yeah, of course the death rates are going to be up 40%. But this guy is specifically saying, no, it's not because of the Rona. It's from something else. We don't know what it is, but it's pretty alarming. So let's get into this. Scott Davidson, the CEO of an Indianapolis-based insurance company, One America, was one of several business leaders and health professionals who spoke during a virtual conference that was organized by the Indiana Chamber of Commerce on December 30th. So apparently this was a statewide Chamber of Commerce sponsored deal that happened on December 30th. It was a big deal. So it just recently happened, right? During his presentation, he said that the death rate among Americans aged 18 to 64 has skyrocketed by a jaw-dropping 40% compared to pre-pandemic levels. So automatically, I'm like, what in the hell are they talking about? This is crazy. How can this be? Especially if you're taking out, and he's saying only a fraction of those are from the Rona. How can this be? This doesn't make any sense. So Davidson stressed that he was talking about huge numbers, which are the highest in the history of the business. I mean, that's saying something. These people have been in business over 100 years, I believe, and they're like a $100 billion company. So this is not some little tiny insurance company. This is a big deal. And this guy is saying that the increase, he clarifies, is not driven by deaths that are being classified as C-19 deaths. What the data is showing to us is that the deaths are being reported as Rona deaths greatly understate the actual death losses among working age people from the pandemic. It may not all be Rona on their death certificate, but the deaths are up just huge numbers. And what we saw just in the third quarter, we're seeing it continue into the fourth quarter, is that death rates are up 40% over what they were pre-pandemic. I mean, this is bombshell stuff, guys. To put it into perspective, Davidson said that the massive spike in death in this age group is 4 times higher than that it would be in a 1 in 200 year catastrophe, adding that 40% is just unheard of. Unheard of. And this guy, these people are in the business of kind of predicting, I guess, what's going to happen, how many people are going to die and all this. So they've had to pay out an incredible amount of money on life insurance claims and stuff like that for people dying. It's not just One America that's seeing this trend in their claims data, he says, but every single other insurance company has also reported seeing the same. What is most worrisome, though, is that the biggest increase in excess death has come from traditionally healthier working-age individuals under 65, and not the elderly, who are the most susceptible to the C-19 virus. We are seeing right now the highest death rates we have seen in history of this business, and not just at One America. The data is consistent across every player in that business. I mean, this is a big deal. The insurance companies, they know who is dying and who's putting claims out on life insurance. And that's probably not counting the people that didn't have life insurance that died. So, I mean, this is a huge deal. And it immediately gets my gears to turning. Well, what's different now than what it was pre-pandemic? Well, we have this mystery stuff, this mystery juice that they're not going to tell us what's in it for like 55 years because for whatever reason, I mean, you may come to your own conclusions about that. I mean, here, I'm gonna give you this stuff and you're gonna, absorb it into your body, but I'm not gonna tell you all of the studies and the side effects and all the other stuff for 55 years. And we're not gonna be liable. You're not gonna be able to sue us either over the deal. I mean, this is just unfreaking believable. It all points back to the big change is that now we have a lot of people losing their jobs if they don't comply with the mandate that came from on high, that came from this guy that I guess thinks he's the king of the world or something. I'm not sure where he read that in his duties, his assigned duties, because there is a section in the Constitution that clearly says what the president's jobs are, what his responsibilities are, and stuff like that. And these are far outside of anything in that scope. So this guy is completely lost it. And, all this stuff that they're forcing on us, I mean, if that alone doesn't make you wonder what in the hell's going on. I read an article, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase what I read out of it a couple of days ago, but this guy was talking about the reason why they don't want to come clean on any of this stuff and they're wanting to force 100% of the people to get this is so that it will eliminate the control group. If there's a control group, then there'll be people to compare, to the people that have had the V. They'll be able to go, oh, wait, these guys over here didn't have it and they're doing okay. But all of these people over here have the same thing, like myocarditis and blood clots and all this other stuff that the media is not reporting on. Or even if they do report on it, they're underreporting it. I mean, another soccer player, I saw on the Gateway Pundit today, another soccer player like dropped dead, a 25-year-old guy in the peak fitness of his life dropped dead. And this is on top of like 5 or 6 that dropped dead last week or the week before last. I mean, it hasn't been that long ago. And these people, these people that are in the peak physical shape of their lives are all dropping dead. And they have one thing in common. I'm sure you can figure out what that is. A recent shocking report in American Thinker suggests that life insurance payouts are considerably worse than executives expected. Obvious question. Is this an aberration or is it for real? Alas, a cursory examination suggests that it may be for real. The scan of the following insurance companies confirms the initial report. For Prudential, they had a massive 87% increase in death benefits paid comparing the third quarter of 2020 to the third quarter of 2021. Okay? Pay attention to that. 87% increase in death benefits paid comparing the third quarter of 2020 to the third quarter of 2021. So that's really interesting. So such a detailed breakdown wasn't available for New York Life, but their 2021 year to date, January 1st through September 30th, death benefit payout is up by 27%. Examining Pacific Life documents identifies multiple units. For Pacific Life, the year-to-date claims are up by only about 12%. But for a subsidiary of Pacific Life, it's called Pacific Life and Annuity, the claims are up by over 80%. Life insurance companies have a strong incentive to be accurate in their reporting to financial markets. It is possible that these deaths represent neglected care or postponed treatments of heart disease or cancer and the like, but it seems unlikely given the spike in the third quarter deaths, and presumably the Rona had already taken the most vulnerable in 2020 in the absence of a V. So, you know, you got to think about it like that. Since they're saying that this V is supposed to be the cure-all and the answer, and you'll never get it. You know, Biden said if you took the V, you'll never get the Rona. So, I mean, that's clearly a lie, but that's what they told us and what they promised us, but that wasn't true. These massive claims seem to be a phenomenon of the third quarter, about 6 months after the V regime became widely available. So, hey, we've got this cure, Trump fast-tracked it and everything, and now we've got this cure that's going to help everybody, right? And suddenly 6 months later, all these people are dying, and these insurance companies are having to pay out massive claims, 80% higher in some cases. In that other insurance article we talked about, 40% increases in death. I mean, this is just off the scales. I mean, guys, we're not allowed to come right out and say what this is. So that's why I'm having to kind of skate around all this stuff and try to, you know, tiptoe into it. So hopefully I don't get banned. But there's nowhere to even turn because, you know, when you hear what Trump has been saying in the past couple of weeks, when he was on Bill O'Reilly's show and he was on Candace Owens' show, both of those different appearances, he's a big time proponent of the V. So, I mean, he's a big V pusher. He's the one, you know, he wants to get all, that's his legacy, I guess, is, you know, getting everybody to take the V. And it's just unfreaking believable. So what are we going to do in 2024 when it comes time for picking our next presidential candidate? Are we going to pick a person that's going to be maybe a little bit better on a lot of other stuff, but not good enough? Or are we going to pick somebody that's going to just, you know, say, no, this is America. You have the right to choose. You have the right to, you know, not choose it. If you don't want to take it, then you don't have to take it. You're not going to get fired. You're not, you know, I don't know where Trump stands. All I know is he's always pushing this V like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And he's acting like there are no deaths associated with any of this stuff. But yet, if you look around, you can find these deaths. And that's what I want you to take away from this, guys, is it's not about these particular articles. It's about what they don't talk about. It's about the fact that the mainstream media won't even talk about this stuff, this insurance stuff. The mainstream media, when they talk about the 4.5 million Americans that quit their jobs, they don't say one of the biggest potential reasons. It's the stuff that they're not saying. It's the stuff that they're trying to ban. That's really the stuff, the news that you guys ought to be going out and trying to seek. Anyways, let me know what you think of these down in the comments. I always look forward to reading your comments and such. So, again, we got to fight this stuff. And the best way to fight this stuff is with knowledge. We need knowledge. We need to know what's really going on. So that's why I do these. I hope they're helpful for you. And if nothing else, they at least lead you to your own research. That's the whole point of this. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.